Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Quite an important discussion we're having today. Obviously, Export of the Year is our big event for the year. Really there to promote Eastern Cape, the great companies we have in the region. And we'll just have a bit of a discussion regarding the entries. Obviously, we want as many people to enter as possible, and also just to guide people to make sure that the entries are good entries, strong entries. We've got some of our experienced judges here who will be sharing a bit later their experiences. So obviously, we will look at the entries and just give you guys some tips how to make your entries better. It's all about really what the judges see is your entry. So the better your entry is, better chance you got of winning the prizes. So the event this year, it's been our 28th. My first event was in 1999, a very small event. It's really grown over the years. So this year, 20th of October at the boardwalk. So you can diarise already. That's the day we're going to have our big bash. This year, I'll be there. Less than we need to. So you guys can diarise that. You can rebook your tables with Suzanne if you would like to do that. So just a bit about the entry. So eligibility. So it's any direct or indirect exporter. So you don't have to be a direct exporter to enter. A lot of our component guys sell to OEMs and their products are exported through them. So as long as you're in the export industry, you can apply, and then any service provider to the export industry. So anybody who does anything for the exporters to help them export their goods, you can enter. And obviously it's for fully paid up members. So if you're going to enter, you need to be paid up your fees for the year. So how to enter? It's a PowerPoint presentation. I'll show you just now. We'll go through it. It's quite easily laid out, guides you through the process. Once you're done, you can just email it through to Suzanne. The closing date, 6th of August, so there is still time. So rather start sooner than later. Every year, the day before, we get phone calls, can we get extensions? So please rather start sooner, and so you don't have to do a rush job at the end there. You've got lots of time now based on what we tell you today, so please keep going on that. And then the judging process, it's quite a robust program. We have independent judges, like I said, I've got 3 of them sitting here. So once your entries all come in, each judge has the opportunity to look at the entry. So like I said, we judge based on whatever you put on the page. So there's a scorecard. I'll show you the weighting, how it works. So each judge judges independently. We collate the scoring. Based on that decides who the category winners are. Then once that's complete, the judges all get together in a room. We discuss the entries. So, okay, well, these guys didn't win, but is there anything that sticks out in your entries? Do they deserve merit awards? And then some decide merit awards. And then out of the main category winners, we also discuss who is the overall winner. So it is quite a process that we go through. So the judges are all independent. We don't have anybody on the panel or exporters. For obvious reasons, we don't want people seeing other people's numbers, information, so we make sure that the people who judges are not actual exporters. So why enter? I know we've shared this quite a lot. Guys were at the social last year, we were also from guys who won, really what it means. So it's really about your publicity you get from this. I mean, it's great you're in the media, you're on the radio, you can really brag that you win these awards. It's really great to be able to market it. We have some of the winners in the room here that really shared with us really what it means to win these awards. It's great for staff morale. I mean, the guys that really win these awards, you go back to your staff and I say, this is all about you, this is what you did. And it's really a boost for your staff. Including attenders as well. Guys will always do that, so because this is the awards that I won. And yeah, I think it's just about really encouraging guys to enter. I think we need to really get as many entrants as possible, really make it a great competitive award. So like I mentioned, how to attend. So if we have tables 10, you can come as individual or 2, 3, whatever, or you can book a full table. So it's $850 a head or $8,500 for a table. you can just email Suzanne and you can book your table already. One of the requirements of entering is that you are going to be at the function, because obviously we want you, if you win the award, to come up on stage and accept the award. Because this obviously is how we score as judges. So it's really important when you're doing your entry that you make sure that you're concentrating on the scoring. So the higher score you get, obviously the better chance you got. So this is the weighting. So we've got the two categories, the service category and the other category. Service is different because we don't score anything for capital investment, because that's not really part of being a service provider. It's more part of being an exporter. You're going to invest. So that's why we have the different weightings. But if you look at, as we go through the scorecard, it is the entry form. It's set out exactly like this. So there's a slide for each of these criteria. So it's important that when you do your major accomplishments, when you've done your entry, look back and say, this counts for 10% of my entry. Have I got sufficient information in that area? And your awards, 5%. Strategic innovation, health skills, transformation. So you really need to make sure that you've got enough meat in this part of the entry to be able to justify to the judges that you deserve an award. Obviously the bottom part, that's all numbers. So the way we score that is we've got different ranges. So if you're in certain range, your export turnover increase by certain amounts, you will get this score. So that's consistent across all entrants. Okay. So the main judging part is this part here, the softer type of stuff. So you need to make sure that you've got enough meat in that part to get your scoring to an adequate level. So this is just introduction. So for the judges, just to understand company details and who the contact person in case we have any questions, because there is some support that sometimes isn't given with the entry. So we just ask for that. This is quite an important slide, what you're actually entering for. So please pay attention to this slide. So the top four is based on the type of business you're in. So obviously OEMs like VW's, Ford, Isuzu. Then the rest is based on your export turnover. So that will put you in what area you are there. The next one is the service provider. So the guys are certified to the industry. Exporter of the year, probably everyone enters that one because that will be one of the winners there gets that. Then the last one's the environmental award. Don't have to enter that, but we do have quite a few entrants in that space as well. So the first one is for the OEM guys, and then everyone else falls under the practice award. Then we've got the RDC Job Creation Award, Kingsley's Award. So that's really, and job creation is really important in the region, and that's why we have that one, to see how many guys have really grown, created the most sustainable jobs over the last period. And then the last one is a new award, the Emerging Exporter Award. That's for exporters who exported for less than 3 years. The reason we got that one is because we are part of the export development program, where these guys are coming out through the mentoring. A lot of our members are mentors of these guys. So it's really to encourage those guys to really grow their businesses. So that's why we've now introduced that one, because all the other awards, one of the criteria is you have to be exporting for 2 years to be able to enter. So that's why we've now got the new entry category. Okay, the next slide is just some history on the business. Again, just for the judges to understand your business. So it's about when you move forward, when you start exporting, where do you export to, what type of product do you export. So that one should be quite easy to follow. Okay, now these are the slides now, like I mentioned earlier, is really where you need to put some thought into. And it's quite important that you don't give it to one person in your organization to try to fill out all these slides. Really get a team effort. Almost the finance side, get the finance guy, but the rest get marketing, get your engineers, get everyone involved. Because it actually gets you to help you think about your business, saying, well, what are we actually doing? What is our strategy? So it can be even part of a strategy discussion is helping filling out these slides. So this one is just about your new contracts, or what have you done in the last year, what have you won. So it doesn't have to be something big, but it could be a new market, you going into a new export destination, anything like that which you can put down on the slide. This one, awards, achievements. Yeah, so you can put down if you won Export of the Year the previous year, you can put that down. Any other awards you earned from your customers. You produced your 1 millionth unit of a product, you can put that there. If you're a market leader in something, you can put that there. So it's really about bragging about what you've achieved. These ones, strategic innovation. Yeah, so some people don't lie, they put one-liners here. And this counts for 5% of your entry. So really we want to understand, well, what are you doing? Like automotive industry, we know the industry is changing, moving to EV, what are you doing? Well, what are you thinking forward? What are you going to do to overcome? How are you going to change your business? We know that the world had issues with foot and mouth, so what have you done about that? So it's really about, or what are you doing as a business looking forward? Overcoming obstacles, again, counts 5 points. So what obstacles have you overcome? So obviously, export Forex is an issue. What do you do about Forex? Do you hope that it's going to turn your way, or do you cover, do you look at opportunities? Obviously, we know the harbor's been an issue. What have you done about that? You just sit and wait for your product, or have you come up with other ideas? So it's really, what obstacles have you done, and what have you done to really overcome that? So are you really being a proactive business to see how you can look forward? And that's the type of stuff that judges are looking for. Transformation initiatives. Transformation is important. Another 5 points here. Just what are you doing in that space? Are you part of automotive? Are you part of AITF? Are you part of YES? Or have you adopted a school? Or what are you doing in this space? What are you doing for your staff? So that's that slide. Okay, the next two are more open-ended. So these are all brag ones. So it's just about what makes your business different. Are you the same as everyone else, or what are you doing differently? And this one, why should you win this? I think that's really how you put everything else together. So if the judges go straight to the slide, they would say, okay, this guy's definitely the winner, because they know what they want to do, and this is exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so then just to go through the finance side of stuff. So the first one is just looking at our different revenues. So obviously speaking export revenue. So this just shows how that company has grown over the years. It's nice to see a lot of guys who are in small category have grown to medium and grown to corporate. So this is just a 3-year history on your turnover over the years. Okay, and this is other financial information. In the past, we used to ask for actual numbers, and some guys were not comfortable sharing actual numbers with us. So therefore, we changed it to just show percent fluctuation year on year. Guys are more open to sharing that type of information. So again, it's the last 3 financial years to show how your business has developed over the 3 years. So first looking at your turnover, direct, so what percent of your business is exports, and then looking at how your exports have grown over the years. So firstly based on units, then based on your rand value, then profitability, first gross profit line, and then looking at bottom line, and then looking at your EDI and CSR spend. So that's for exporters. Similar slide for service providers. Obviously it's worded a bit differently because service providers don't actually export, but they assist exporters to generate. So it's the income you've received to facilitate exports. So the slide's similar, but just worded a bit differently. Because obviously we haven't got the actual units exported and the rand value of the exports. So it's just changed to be that. Okay, it's just some other information. Obviously capital investment. So like I mentioned, this isn't relevant for service providers, but for actual exporters, obviously the investment in the country is important, investment in the region. That's why we have this here, to encourage guys to really recognize guys who have invested a lot of money in our region. So that's the top part. Employment again, employment is really important in our region, so really recognize guys who have maintained employment or have been able to grow employment. So that's why we have employment full-time, part-time, and also there's skills development trend. I think that's also important that we guys aren't able to to grow the employment, they're spending money on the current employees to upskill them. So that's why we've got that in there as well. And then lastly, just your B score, which also counts for 5%. So these are all the slides for the main awards. And then we've got some slides for the environmental awards, and like I mentioned, a lot of guys do enter that. This is a separate judging panel. We've got guys who are specialised in this industry, and they go and do a tour of your site as well. With other entries we don't. For these ones that actually want to go and see what you're doing, we'll go look, do you have trees in the garden, do you have speck worm, do you have natural light in your factory, do you have a healthy meal in your canteen, little things, but those are the things that they'll go look for. See, do you have water harvesting, do you have solar, so it's quite in-depth review that these guys do as well. So I'm not going to go through all the slides, but yeah, so that's what they do. Then just the last slides, just to say that you acknowledge that what you're putting in the form is true and correct. We're not going to come and audit you, so we trust you that you put the right stuff in. So this is just to say that what you have put there is 100. Then just the last requirements. So for certified category, we just ask for references. So obviously you are doing services to two guys, so we can hear from your customers how good you are. That's great for the judges as well to see that you've got good strong references. For exporters, you can also do that. You don't have to, but it's compulsory for the service guys. So now it comes, like I mentioned, it must be fully paid up. BE certificate, and if you enter the environmental, just your environmental policy come with. And then lastly, just photos. The guys have been to the event. When you announce the awards, we put photos up on the big screen. So we want high quality photos that we can put on there. If it's not a high res, then it doesn't look good up there. And also a good high res logo for the slides as well. Okay, and these are just the other rules which I've already discussed. Yeah, so the main one is just remember that if you enter, you have to be there on the night to come up on stage and receive your award. And the last slide is just the scoring. Okay, I know it's been quite a mouthful, but are there any questions for anybody? You're all comfortable, you know what to do. Okay, so then I'm just going to hand over to my judges. They're just going to say a few words just to share their experience and how to help guys to make sure your entries are as good as possible. So we'll start with the same.
They're all joking me, but I want to go back here to Quinton, because Quinton obviously is an auditor. I mean, one person, 850 million. Do 85. Where's the marketing flair? So,
I'm not a marketing person.
Look, guys, I've been part of the judging panel for how many years?
6, 7.
So, really, it's straightforward. I think Quinton has said everything. But here's the thing, okay? Presentation is what really catches somebody's eye. If you look at the PowerPoint, it's simply a template of what doesn't even excite me, but it actually is good. Whereas this one, and trust me, we as judges don't look for nice, okay? But it does help. If you look to the entry that we've got, it's there. Although we say you must give us those necessary forms like your triple B, if you just say that you won whatever, put evidence in it. You can't say I won top 5 in the world. How am I supposed to know that's true? Surely there must have been a big hype in your business. You must have got some sort of recognition for it. There must have been some reward for it. Put that in there so that we as judges know this is authentic. This is not hearsay. Okay? The other stuff that, as Quinton has said, that's where you want to boast. But when you start boasting, all the other stuff, so the two doesn't sort of make sense anymore, right? Now understand, we said that those are all qualitative, right? So it's what you need to impress us on. Because we can only judge you on what you've given us. If you haven't said it in there, then, and I will take a few of the entries that we had last year. I mean, I can say this to Ford Motor Company, right? Because they were the exporter of the year. I mean, their presentation was magic. They didn't have this PowerPoint it's just a guideline for you so that everybody puts the same. So we as judges, so they need to make sense. So I think the thing is very straightforward. My parting to you is make it look good. If you make it dull, again, as Quentin has said, don't wait for the 5th of August. Then quickly one guy wants to put it all inside here. You're really not going to win, right? It's got to be a combined effort of all your organization, marketing, sales, finance, the whole shebang. We're happy that, I don't know if you didn't say that, but the numbers, we don't do the numbers as you guys do it, eh? The finances, profitability for reasons other than confidentiality and all that kind of stuff. So it's done there. We as just other stuff, the softer things. So really, that's all I have to say. So
don't you just want to mention the 9th of March, please, while you're in front?
Thank you very much. For advertising my golf day. Those guys that are in the East London area, we will have a golf day on the 9th of March, and the S4 will be there. And if you do enter, nothing to do with your entry.
Good morning, everyone. So we just, when we look at it, please also bear in mind you do have some marketing people and you do have some blue suits doing it. So I'm quite happy with boring. I quite like the information behind it. So if you are doing it, so I want you just to start off and say you must fill out each category. There's some people that actually could have actually won that actual section, but because they left off, I'm going to use transformation as a key. But you still have skills, and they leave it blank because they think they've got a BE score of 8 or even non-compliant. But you still have a skills development levy that you use in your bar. There's staff that you run this. You mentioned staff canteen. There's just so many other little things that you could just put in there, and so you get 2 extra points. That 2 extra points can move you up into winning that award. So if I can, because Quentin mentioned that sometimes people don't complete the whole form, and that is correct. And if you do that, I think it will go a long way. Then good news. Cindy is here. We need some more good news stories floating around. We must contemplate putting her onto the panel of judges, because then she can pull out some of the good news stories and visit the client and see if they want to advertise those. So I just think good news stories, we need to share a lot more of them, and quite often you get them in this, but because we're not allowed to share it, it actually just stays in the company. So I do think good news stories should actually be pushed out a little bit more. So I've done that. So we'll just come back to, I just want to re-emphasize the past financial year. That we all 3 of us have been on the panel of judges for quite some time. And so we do see your one from the next year to the next year. So we're on the same judging panel. So if you can, so we do know what has happened, what you put in your last year's presentation. It does ring a bell in some of our ears, and we do discuss it as a team as well. So quite often, sometimes there's an overlap, but it's what did you do in your last financial year? And I think that is also quite critical. And then the 2 items, the one is maybe if we could contemplate changing that reference letter to below 500, because trying to read between 500 and 1,000 words. Because as judges, we want to put in the effort into, you put in the effort to send it to us, we put in the effort to to review. So, but if we could get it in a shorter space, I know that we don't want just a one-liner, but something along that. And then, it just in terms of actually the financial detail, we're quite happy, that gets completed by the team itself, but not by the judges. And then just to highlight to say, make sure under major accomplishments, you don't just put one or two items in. It's just list the different things that your company is busy with. There's so many things that are actually happening in your business. There's different challenges that you face. So overcoming obstacles. You've got ESCOM, you've got the harvest, you've got so many things. Just say how your business overcame it. And I think overcoming obstacles, quite often that gets left. And I do think that in South Africa there's lots of obstacles. All the best with the submissions, we look forward to it.
Well, I doubt both of them have actually said what they had to say. I only have two things to say. They've done most of the work. Good morning, everyone. My name is Randall, and I think it's all about memory, and that's the problem. You should have a brag board or a publicity board in your company. It's PR, basic PR stuff there. And put the stories there. File them, because that is when you get to August and then you forgot that you actually achieved something major in the previous financial year. So it's about those stories, as Kingsley has said, that you actually have to tell us how you overcame these obstacles and so on. And it's important that you also understand that we are also not looking just plain simple manufacturing. We're looking at how are you a global player. The vision and the mission of the club is to be globally competitive. So we look at how are you actually playing the sustainability game as well. In terms of the environment, the environmental award isn't just an award. Aside from that, if we see there's a story of people actually, apart from just manufacturing cars, they've also included sustainability practices, that moves the needle north of your score. So we are sensitive to this kind of behavior as well, and we understand that there are challenges in our country, overcoming these obstacles, as Kingsley has mentioned. But how did you overcome that? It's the story that you must tell. So I think for me, in that particular regard, it's important. The memory, the story, put down the facts, put it down there, and then when you collect the information, you know what you want to put on there. And of course, the other thing is the interpretation of the word strategic innovation and transformation. Transformation isn't about a BE score. It's more than that. It's social transformation. Is how did you actually community. For example, you are in perseverance. Your company is there, but you're actually impacting the community. That's the story that you must tell. And it's quite funny enough, they think the financial guy, the operations manager, must do this report. Bring in your community people that are actually reaching out. Bring them into this the discussion as well. So in other words, it must be a comprehensive team that writes this report, not just the sales management level, but other people also come into it. And then of course the other thing is about the first category is qualitative data. So we don't look at numbers there. So it's about language. If you don't choose the right words to actually put yourself out there, superlative words, in other words, then we're not going to get the picture. Because all we're looking at is a document. We don't see the story that you have celebrated. So it's important you understand how you actually navigate the language. So it's qualitative data, and there's an important thing that it's a classification system that we operate on in our minds. When we look at qualitative data, we classify you weak, poor, good, very good. It's classification. So you tell us a story about how did you overcome this obstacle. We, in our mind, we classify that in your words that you use. We classify that, oh, okay, this is an excellent initiative. And once we bring that into we score you 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. But if you don't bring that out in your language, so it's important that you also understand what is required in a criteria. I've written down the following: strategic innovation. That is about reinventing something, creating something new. But it's also strategic in the sense that it actually moves the company's growth to another level. So you understand, and you've done things like that, smaller things. How did it aggregate in the bigger scheme of things? That is why keeping the stories of what is being done, initiatives, keep a record, the publicity board, basic PR stuff and so on. Second one was innovation. That basically means we've implemented something new, a new idea. I will remember, never forget this, when it was still General Motors in Kempston Road. I had a friend and he said to me, the company came to the workforce and said, can you please think about ideas of how we can actually, what do we do with these exhaust pipes? Let's call it like that. And this one guy actually had this idea of how to recycle, how to repurpose his old exhausts. And he got a company award for that. Now those stories are perhaps not documented in the boardroom, right? It happens in the storeroom. But those are the kind of things that tells us how you've actually included the lower rungs of the workforce. And then there's two words that goes with it. ESG, the environment, social and governance. You've got to bring that into your story now, because we don't judge companies purely on financials and qualitative data. Business behavior is more comprehensive now. And the second category of words is the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusivity. How to tell those stories, because that is how you actually, that speaks to transformation. Remember when we had COVID, we said we are going out of an old order to a new normal. But we're not talking about the new normal, we're talking about the better normal. So how is your company actually in that space, even though you may still make your money, but how can you be great in transformation and sustainability behavior? And then I think lastly, in terms of the quantitative data, I haven't had bad experiences there, but I think it's important that you understand the value of numbers, because that in itself speaks volumes for us when we actually look at the numbers. So don't underestimate the quantitative data that you put there. It has to be accurate, of course. We don't see that much of the big figures and so on, but if the numbers don't add up and it doesn't evoke an emotion of, this is something that should be celebrated, then the numbers becomes dull to us as well. So I think it's important to understand that. And of course, the last factor is the weighting. If you, I think my colleague mentioned this previously, for example, major contracts or new clients, or let's take strategic innovation obstacles. There were cases where people didn't even talk about obstacles, but that's 15%. You throw away 15% of you're losing a lot in the weighting of the score. So when you look at the scores, you look at every single category, you've got to have a story for each one of them. I'm obviously telling my judges that there will be more things to read, but we want you to bring out those stories so that we can do justice to the efforts that you have put in. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thanks to my judges. As you can see, they're all very passionate. They really enjoy this. They really put a lot of time and effort into the judging. So you can see it is a very robust exercise we're going through. But yeah, the guys take it really, really seriously. So thanks for their feedback. We're saying a very good point about you don't have to use our template. Some guys use their own template with pictures in, all pretty with graphs and stuff. Okay. If you do that, just remember to lay it out under the same categories, because the judges still want to be able to score based on the categories in the weighting. So if you want to, you're more than welcome to go and use your own template, but make sure we can still find what we're looking for in the entry quite easily. Then Keith also mentioned a good point about looking at the last year. Some guys put in one award in 1984. That's nice, but you're not going to score on that. So really put in what's happened recently, what happened in the last financial year, what have you done more recently. And Dr. Jonas, you can see, is an educator. Like you said, it's really the story. Really the judges, based on what you put in your entry, understand your business, where you're going, where you've been, and what your plan is. Like you said, we don't go to see your factory, we don't be able to walk through your corridors, but you really need to understand that. And those little things that you put in there. Like the year when SGM won the award, they put in there, they started in their canteen giving each staff member a free meal. And you think, what's that mean? The attendance went up to 99% because the staff said, okay, well, if I come to work, I'm going to get food. If I stay at home today, I'm not going to be able to eat. My family are going to have less food. So by doing something like that, they got their attendance to 99%. So little things like that, little things you put in your business which you don't think is a big thing, but for the judges think, wow, okay, no, these guys they're thinking about the big picture here. So it's really what we want to see in the entry form. Okay, so that's all from us. Are there any other sort of questions from the floor, or does everyone understand what you need to do now? If you think of other things, if you're going through the process of filling out your form, you can reach out to us, say, okay, guide us a bit more in this area to help you fill out your form. But if there are no questions, thanks to everybody for coming. We're looking forward to receiving your entries. The guys are very eager, as you can see, to get through your entry. So please, everybody enter. Let's encourage other guys to enter. Like I said, the more entries, the better. Share the word. When you talk to people in business, so enter. There's really great benefits in entering. Okay, so once again, thanks to everybody. We'll see you at our next event.
Thank you.